Hi, I'm Matt with Schematical, and with me today is Dominic DeMarco, and we will be talking about the agentic payment flow, specifically Amazon Bedrock trying to solve the microtransaction problem. So before we
Happy
dive in, how you
Tuesday.
doing, Dom? Happy
I'm doing
Tuesday.
well. Beautiful day here, about 70 so degrees.
Very nice. Um, so have you heard about the microtransaction problem before I sent you this link to the post?
No, but it's an obvious problem, right? Because not borrowing from your article, if you're doing things that cost less than pennies, significantly less than pennies, there's obviously some sort of challenge in balancing or zeroing out those transactions.
Yeah. So to
And
set
it's
this,
and
oh,
it
go ahead.
reminds me a little bit of over here in Europe, and I haven't traveled the subway much in the United States or the buses for that matter in the last several years. But you always tap your card now. You don't have tickets, you don't have anything like that. You tap your card, and if you use a service like Wise, you'll get an immediate notification saying your card has been verified. But sometime between the next 12 to 36 hours, they then um, aggregate all of your transactions or all of your fees into a single purchase to minimize the transaction fees across any single transaction. So similar but very different because these are at least $1 transactions generally versus fractions of pennies.
Right. And let me set the stage for people that don't have the backstory, haven't read the article yet. Uh, in the agentic world, right? You have your AI agent that you set to work to do this and that, and as opposed to it might call out to an API and an application programming interface to say, "Hey, I want the weather. Hey, I want to get this piece of information." And you're not buying in bulk. So a lot of people that use these type of APIs, like if you're using Google's APIs or whatever, you're usually buying thousands and thousands of requests. So you only may need to do two or three requests. Hey, I want to run a couple searches, and so Google charges 1,000. For 1,000 requests or for 1 million requests, they charge oftentimes just pennies, right?
Hmm.
So if you're charging for one or two requests, that's a tenth of 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 a penny, 0.00001 penny. And
Office
so,
space style.
yeah, our modern credit card systems aren't really designed for that. The fees, you can get a 30-cent transaction fee when you go and buy some, go out to eat for dinner. Plus, they take, a portion of it as well. So the fees get to be pretty brutal if you charge per transaction. So AWS is attempting to solve that, as well as X402 and a bunch of different crypto solutions as well. So it's an interesting balance where I guess, the standard
Well,
credit
it's
card process.
exploiting a weakness. It's a feature and a flaw simultaneously in the existing credit card system.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose that just makes you wonder how long that model is going to last. Those big
Mm.
credit card providers. It reminds me in a way of remember how you used to have to pay like $7 or $9 every time you traded stocks, and
Hmm.
now it's completely free. And
Now it's even fractionals for free.
yeah, exactly. So it's quite. It maybe we're going to see
Mm.
another.
No, and I'd be curious. I haven't done anything where I personally process credit cards in a long time. I wonder if that 30-cent fee has changed or if people negotiate it based upon volume. Because I'm again thinking about a municipal bus system. If a bus ride is €1 or €1.50, is a third of that really sucked up in fees? That's not the point of this. I'm just curious. I'll do a little bit googling after this because I suspect that the per transaction fees, at least at volume, have dropped.
I would think so. Anytime look at credit card processing in the 80s, 70s, whatever. Like, those fees were way higher now than they were now because
Well,
there's just such a higher volume. And Stripe
well,
came in
and
and
and volume and risk was significantly higher. I don't know if you remember when you used to have carbon copy credit card swiper machines and you had to fill out the thing by hand.
I've
Um,
seen him. I don't think I actually used
I've
one.
witnessed them when I was a child, and there's just significantly more risk because there's no real time um, verification that that card is even valid. So you went from that to digital cards where they would swipe it, and now you go to your phone where not only do you have real time connection with your card, you're pretty well damn guaranteed that I'm the one running a transaction on my phone versus somebody pickpocketing me and taking my wallet and running away.
Hmm. Hmm. And the scene where they'd come up and cut up your credit card in front of you if they called
Yep.
in, and yeah,
Yep.
I remember those from the movies, but I don't think I've ever
So
seen it.
what's X402? Is that what you
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, 402 is a status code. I need, requesting payment.
ah
So a website, 401, 403, 40 whatever. And it wasn't really widely used, but at this point you could respond with that, in which case there's a protocol that the agent could follow and do
okay.
payments. I mean, it doesn't have to be an agent, but something that's consuming that API would
Right.
have to be able to pay up. And so it's interesting. I really like the idea that there can be businesses that will be built in the next few years that are taking fractions of a penny from million people, instead of even with dollars, or tens of dollars from.
Mhm.
I mean, that's Netflix. They take $10, $20 from a million people. Instead somehow there'll be these Peter level style startups, hopefully, that somehow deliver value but still make margins on such minuscule amounts. And I'm the only way we can do it is at volume, but that means
Massive
you're
volume.
helping more people, or people
Hmm.
could. I mean, if it's a service I use to check the weather every day, maybe that's maybe eventually you'll make that money, but or that that all adds up. But I like the idea that these exist. These types of businesses can theoretically exist and thrive
So
in the
you
years
could
to come.
essentially, if you made a specialized model, you just mentioned the weather. Of course, there's massive amounts of models out there on that. But if you were some, you know, basement ninja that made a better predictor of where a tornado is going to touch down, I could see you could sell fractional access to something like that in
Yeah.
augmenting other weather services. So if you want to build a holistic service, you could take some of these specialized super unique models and blend them with the greater, what is it, the atmospheric and space administrator, or whatever that organization is in the US that does the base models.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be all sorts of use cases. I'm trying to think of something that's niche enough where it wouldn't be covered by a big service. But I mean, I could see it geo guessing photos. So you got a photo and you
Mm.
don't want to just run it through a GAN and
Yeah.
generate something cool. You want to actually say, hey, this is a photo from my father. I digitize all my father's old pictures, my grandfather's old pictures, and run it
Mm.
through and say, hey, where was this photo taken? You have like a digital
Do,
footprint.
do you know there's a subreddit for this, and there's some absolutely phenomenally amazing people that can tell you exactly. I could take a photo of where I am right now, and somebody on Reddit would be able to figure out exactly where I'm sitting. It's completely
I,
unrelated, but I've come across that one a few times, and it's
I
fascinating.
I've recently learned about geoguessing and how
That's
it
it.
has gained in popularity.
Because you
Yeah,
look at the type of tree, the type of plant, type of paver stone on the ground, and yeah.
yeah, it's quite impressive. But yeah, it's similar. I was train a model to do it, and then it'd be a possible business expense. Not that we need to automate that, but
But
and then
the question becomes what needs to be done a couple billion times a day that really is super specialized but doesn't take a lot of resources to accomplish.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you had some type of database of I keep coming back to weather, but of some events that get updated every something like off market stock trade. So not like stock, but
Mhm.
maybe some market.
Even go back to the real estate example. Maybe you combine a bunch of different databases in a special way that gives you better insights into some sort of activity or potential activity, and you could sell those leads.
Yeah, yeah, that type of stuff. I mean, it'd probably
But
be something
those
you
would
need to
probably
keep.
sell for dollars instead of fractions of pennies, however. But that's a different story entirely.
Yeah, unless you charge like a fraction of a penny per result or something. I'm not. Yeah, it's tough to say,
Mm.
but basically the going back to the beginning, they're trying to make a stab at making it the current credit card systems, the payments for agents, not obsolete, because agents theoretically are going to move a lot faster than us. That actually brings us
Mm.
to another article I was going to write. Did you see? Everybody's kind of freaking out right now over the last few days that Cloudflare. Now has a bots versus humans using the web kind of metric, and humans are like 43% and
Yeah.
bots are 57.
Well, I didn't see the article itself, but I saw somebody referencing saying, well, the 50-50 line was crossed like a year or two ago already. So it's just continuing.
Okay, yeah, so that's as far I went back as far as I could in their 2025 recap, and as of January 2025 they were already saying something like that, but I guess it wasn't as front and center. So
Mm.
some people are just
Well,
realizing.
I'd be curious to see whether it's, what number of page clicks, or because you can't say how many entities are on the internet, because an entity on the internet might be a single API call, or might be you or I scroll dooming all day long.
As far as I can tell, it's page requests based on user agent there. So
Okay,
that, and you can
that's
register your
spoofable though.
user agent with them, and so they actually track the user agent's, volume of traffic on things they
But you can
firewall.
spoof that.
You can spoof that. I don't know how, because you also can verify IP addresses for Google. At least you can go back and
Mm,
do a who is lookup, and you can't spoof that.
mm.
So
Well,
I
what
don't
if you
know.
bounce it through a VPN of some sort?
If you bounce it through a VPN and they did a backwards lookup on it, on the IP address,
Mm,
then it's still not going to show up as Google. So if Cloudflare is doing their homework, which I can't assume they are or not,
fair.
then they would actually be able to detect that. But I can't say the same with every other user agent, because each user agent has its
Mm,
own way of being validated.
mm,
So I don't know how thorough that is. I hope they would. They probably, I mean, they've got the resources. They could easily just, hey, there's a new IP address this is coming
mm,
from. Let's check if it's Google. Let's check if it's
mm,
Facebook, and do a reverse lookup on those. Because I have to do it quite a bit for my client stuff. We get
mm,
just stuff coming in, and some people do spoof user agents. Usually, I don't see them spoofing the big guys. I usually see them spoofing browsers, um,
mm-hmm.
standard browsers, trying to look like it's a human. But
Yep, yep.
yeah,
So
so
microtransactions, they're coming and they're giving us a way to do it. So you don't have to buy 50 euros or $100 worth of credits.
yes. Now, depending on how you feel about crypto, it looks like the open source one for X402 is going to
Mm,
use cryptocurrency. Some people are going to like that. Some people aren't going to like that. In reality, you probably could just, once you get a penny or whatever the
mm.
transaction fee is, go back and change it into
Once
dollars.
once you've
I
done
don't
a
know.
thousand transactions, you have a penny, you could transfer it.
Yeah, something like that. But this will be interesting. I mean, I'm curious with the Amazons. It appears that Amazon's going to be leaning into the crypto side of things a little bit here, but they also have the opportunity to kind of become a bank if they wanted to. But
Mm.
then, I guess what's the benefits of them doing that? You're not really making interest on that. I guess they could take it and sink some
Well,
of that in the.
unless they're playing the long game on crypto, saying we're just going to hold it in case it explodes. I mean, MicroStrategies has been trying that for a couple of years, and how they keep
Well,
coming up with fresh capital baffles me. But that's a whole separate story as well.
that agreed, but but the separate side is, as long as you're using Amazon services, that's the interest.
Mhm.
So MicroStrategy holds it and hopes it goes up. AWS, holds it and handles these, so you're not paying the minor transaction fees, but you're still paying for the token for the agent, because it's
Yep.
all using AgentCore and ideally
Right.
using their models, which is the GPUs, and you're paying for the agent, whatever it does on CPUs. So you're paying for
Mm.
usage
And
alongside of it.
they're just keeping a line item on the balance sheet.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
So if anybody can figure it out, I think Amazon's got a good shot at it, or Google.
Well, they've got the
Um,
scale to do it because
yeah,
this isn't. I mean, somebody's going to come up with something in their garage and lightning's going to strike. But those are those are moonshots like Numio. That's one guy who started a cost of living thing around the world, and all of a sudden millions of people submitted data and it took off. A bunch of other people are going to try similar things but fail just
mhm,
because they didn't catch the lightning in the jar.
yeah, yeah. Well, either way, an interesting problem to solve.
Hmm.
As far as it goes, if
Have you put any crypto in your wallet with which to play?
no, not as of the moment, no, I have
Mm,
not. That I have. I mean, as we've talked about, I got a lot of crazy things going on in my life right now, outside of the social
mm,
wise and work wise. So I have been unable to go hands on with this one. I got a whole backlog of projects I am dying to go hands on with.
mm.
But the AI stuff I've been playing with inside for a client has been taking up my time, and I got to go back to tech debt and get that finished. So speaking of tech debt, we have a trailer. So if you go to Steam and
Oh,
search tech debt,
should you post the link down below in whatever this platform is people are
yes,
consuming this on?
Lorato, if you're hearing this, please do that, because she'll get it all out there. Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that to you. Otherwise, I'll be posting about it shortly. I just wrote a devlog that should go live very
Mm,
shortly. So, um, with that said, I'm Matt with Schematical. Schematical.com is where you can find us. and look forward to hearing from you. If you want to jam on things like this or other AWS and tech related stuff. So have a great day.
See y'all.